this off. It looks like I'm live on YouTube and Twitch this time. So last time I found out that my main camera does not charge while it's in use, so I'm going to have to figure something out with that. But in the meantime, we're just going to pick up where we left off. We've got the Tamiya Eurotruck that we're building, and we got these suspension arms and the rear differential installed, so we'll just continue with that. And if anybody is watching at some point, you can just type in a message or a question if you got one, and if I see it, I'll answer it. So let's get right into it so we can get the maximum amount of time before the battery dies. It looks like the next step, oh, we already got the rear suspension uprights assembled with the bearings installed there. So now we've got this B6 part, and we need to attach that to the rear of the chassis with the Ma3 screws. I need to get my bag of hardware back out. Okay. Ma4 is a countersunk screw. The nice thing about the Tamiya instruction manuals is a lot of the hardware is shown on the right here in, well, close to actual size, I think. So you can compare it directly to the diagram on the side there to make sure you have the right hardware. However, it looks like some of them aren't quite, well, I guess that's an Ma5. Where's an Ma4? Might have to open another hardware baggie. Yep. I guess I'll just mix it all together so it's nice and confusing. There we go, that's an Ma4. I mentioned it last time, but really the purpose of this is to sort of figure out how live streaming works. I'm using OBS Studio and actually Restream to simultaneously stream between YouTube and Twitch, and in the future maybe I'll add Facebook Live or some other ones to it. But really just figuring out how the technology works. You know, my camera setup, I have a Logitech webcam over here for my well, facing back at me, and my main camera is my my Canon G7X Mark III that I have communicating with my PC through the USB-C cable, which doesn't provide the best resolution, so I'm going to have to figure out something else. I think I'm going to use my my GoPro Hero 4 in the future as sort of a webcam, but we'll see. Let's see, I need Ma3. I need 3 of those screws. So this is a Tamiya Eurotruck, and at my old RC track back up in Cleveland, it was Norcar, the gate in Brunswick, Ohio. They used to do a Tamiya Eurotruck class, which was sort of a controlled, just sort of low-cost, fun class, because these are fun little cars to watch because they're real tippy and they're not super fast, but it's kind of easy to get into. So I just moved down to North Carolina, and I just found a local track that also does Eurotruck racing. So I'm going to assemble this and maybe see if I can get into that racing class a little bit. I have had this kit for quite a while, over a year probably, and I'm just now getting around to building it, because from the very start the intention was to build it on a live stream. And I'm just now getting around to learning the technology. So let's see, the next step is to put these axle shafts into the differential. Alright, there's one. Need a dog bone, which I'll grease up. Both sides. Alright, and this is just the grease that's supplied with the kit. I don't think it's anything special. And we need a suspension upright, which will go here. Now, Tamiya uses these hinge pins that actually have some screw threads on them to hold them in, so you don't need to worry about any E-clips or anything like that. So it looks like there's two different lengths. We need the short one for the top hinge pin and the long one for the bottom. That's one, I guess, assembled suspension and drivetrain corner. Let's do the other side. So we need this drive cup. Cool. Another dog bone, some grease. And now the other suspension upright. Got a short hinge pin and a long hinge pin. And again, I am streaming currently on YouTube and on Twitch, and I'm not sure if that's exactly what it means, but it looks like there's one viewer on Twitch. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions or anything like that, let me know. This is definitely a learning curve for me, so definitely open to suggestions. Okay. Now it looks like there's two different body posts, and I'm not sure what I need for my truck body, so I'm going to skip that for now. So I think we can move on to the next section. We have both rear suspension assemblies put together. So now I think we're moving to the front suspension. And let's see, there's these two A-arms. This is B10. I need B9. I'm not sure if that's a difference in wheelbase or what, but I need B9 from this parts tree and B9 from this parts tree. P7, where's that? P7 looks like it's a like some kind of a bearing. Or, oh, here they are. So I need to grease this and then press it into the lower suspension arm. Like that. Perfect. Oh, no, I do need B9 and B10. So these are both B9s. I guess one's the upper and one's the lower end. B10. Oh, the other B10 already cut out. So here's that, I guess it's sort of a ball joint. It gets pressed into the other arm. It doesn't want to go all the way. There we go. I don't know if I should have music or background music for a live stream or what, or if you just prefer silence. I guess if you have any sort of opinion, let me know in the comments. Let me see if I have this thing set up. It should display on the screen if somebody leaves a comment or a question or something. So if someone wants to test that out, be my guest. So we have the front arms assembled, it looks like. Now we're moving to the front differential. So I need another differential case. And there's another packet full of the bevel gears for inside the differential. So apply some grease. And the ring gear. Okay, now last time I think at first I was using the wrong screws to put this together, so I'm going to try to make sure I have the right screws this time. 1, 2... Am I missing one? No, they're in this parts bag. Maybe I'm defeating the purpose of individual parts bags by mixing them all together, but I just like being able to see everything. 1, 2, 3. Get my smaller Phillips screwdriver. You know, a lot of vintage, well, just about all vintage Japanese motorcycles use JIS screws, not Phillips, and they look similar, but they're a little bit different in the way that the head profile is, how the tool engages with the screw. So a lot of times when you're working on old Japanese motorcycles, if you use Phillips screwdrivers, you'll actually damage the screws, and it's much easier to strip out. I wonder if that's the case with Japanese RC cars or other Japanese things, because I'm using what I think is an appropriately sized Phillips screwdriver, and it keeps wanting to cam out of the screw, and that could be because I'm trying to thread it into a plastic piece that doesn't have threads cut into it yet. But I guess what I'm saying is it's harder than it should be, I think. This has definitely been the least favorite part of the build so far. Doing the rear diff, these 3 screws, and now the front diff. Other than that, it seems to be going together pretty well. Just commented on Twitch, and let's see if it shows up. Yep, there it is. I guess that works. It's pretty cool, actually. So let's see, how long has this been going on? I don't know if it shows anywhere how long this video is, but I have a suspicion that my battery is only going to last maybe about 40 minutes. Okay, that's the front differential assembled, and the next step is to, okay, first we need to put a bearing on the drive shaft, and there's a spacer, it looks like, and then another bearing. Interesting. This bevel gear. I'm going to do something that I did with the other side drive shaft, and that's going to be to remove these rubber seals off of the bearing. Since this bearing is way deep down in the drivetrain, away from all the dirt and grime of the track, I'm going to remove these seals just so that it spins a little bit freer. Now this class of racing is pretty strict on what you can and can't do. There's nothing in the rules that says you can't run unshielded or unsealed bearings. And in fact, if I really wanted to free this up, I would clean all that grease out of there and replace it with like a light motor oil. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. So I need to slide this bearing into this cavity onto the drive shaft yoke. It looks like I need, what's P3? P and 3. It's some sort of a spacer. I'm not sure why the front of the drive shaft needs a bearing, a spacer, and then another bearing, but that appears to be the case. So for the second bearing, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to remove these rubber shields just to loosen up the drivetrain a little bit. Because when you're limited on power, this uses the stock brushed motor. Every little bit of friction that you can reduce goes a long way. There's the second bearing going onto the drive shaft yoke. Alright, so the next step would be this bevel with the plastic bevel gear. That's what interfaces with the ring gear on the front differential. Speaking of the differential, we've got these two larger bearings that go on there, and I am going to remove the inner seal from both of these bearings. I'll leave the outer seal because it goes out, it faces out of the chassis. So I'll leave that outer seal just to protect it from dirt. But the inner seal, I think we can get rid of. There's one. And to remove the seal, I'm just using a razor blade. I'm just picking at it to catch that edge. And once you have the edge, pull it out. And what these are made of actually is it's a thin piece of metal that actually has a rubber coating on it, and that's how those rubber seals are made for bearings. All right, so I'm making sure that I have the blue that blue seal facing outwards, and I'm going to add a little bit of grease to the bevel gear and slide the differential in. Just like that. Okay. Next step is to assemble the front suspension arms. So for that I'm going to need A9. I already assembled the arms. I put those ball joints in there. A9 is the front sort of differential case, and A10 is the shock tower. Oh, and then A5 is what holds the upper arms on the inside of the chassis. So I am going to find A9, which is this. A9, and what are the lower? Ah, shoot. See, I should have should have remembered which was which, because the suspension arms look pretty much identical. Okay, the B10, the lower arms, have the shock mounting position right there, so I'm going to put that right there. Put those on before I forget again. And this one. Oh, it does call for grease on the pivot points. Now do I slip this on here? Okay, I need A5. Well, this is A10, isn't it? Yep, A10. Shock tower. That is going to go right there. I use Ma2, the middle screw, to fix it to the diff case. Ma2, I believe, is one of these. And A5. A5. Add some grease. I do like how Tamiya uses the same part, so, well, at least left to right in this case. The arms are interchangeable, so that's one less thing to worry about. Let's see. I guess next step is to fix this to the rest of the chassis using Ma1 screws. Use long ones. Yep. Okay, so we're at the 30-minute point, which I guess is a good time to say if my camera battery dies anytime soon, which I think we're looking good for now. But when it does die, I'll just end the stream, and then we will pick up in a part 3. But for now, we're still pretty good on battery life, I think. So we'll press forward. Need to flip this over because I need to put this little skid plate type thing. It's B6, which is right here. Skid plate right there. Perfect. Ma3 screws, which are these countersunk screws. I need 2 of those. There's the other one. The other cool thing about this kit is it looks like it's pretty symmetrical front to rear. Obviously the suspension arms and the uprights are different because the front you need to steer, but a lot of these other components like the differentials are the same front to rear. It looks like the differential housings might be the same, shock towers might be the same, and these skid plates too. Ma3 is what I need. Ma3 has come to help assemble this thing. Ma3, you're kicking my screws. Be careful. Okay, got the skid plate on there. Nice, we've got front and rear suspension. Now it's time for the front uprights. So, I need my Ma3. I need this. Thank you. This is a pretty stiff plastic compared to the plastic that's used for the. Okay, Ma3, you need to watch your tail. Compared to the suspension arm plastic, which is pretty flexible, so this stuff is kind of hard to cut with the razor blade. So I might just snap it off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we need, these are the axle shafts, and we need 2 bearings each, which actually is the rest of the bearings. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the differential, except I'm going to keep the rubber face for the outside intact and on the inside intact, and then the 2 that are in this little cavity here, I don't even know what to call it, I'm going to remove the rubber seals. So again, each of these bearings, I'm going to remove the rubber seal from one side. So there's one. That bearing looks a little bit different. Okay, so now again I'm going to make sure that the rubber seals are facing outwards. I'm going to use this axle to push this one through. Just like that. Perfect. Okay. So now it's time to apply these to, need to apply grease to these pivot points, which will slip into the ball joints. We need a dog bone. Oh shoot, I forgot the outdrives. Now I'm just doing too many things at once. Okay, outdrive slips into the differential. Perfect. Now we get the drive shaft, dog bone, right there. And now finally we get the outdrive. And that pin on the top and bottom fits into the ball joints for the suspension arms. So there's the outdrive there. Now to secure it we need plastic parts A1 and we need the Ma3 screws. So A1 is this, and that's just sort of a tapered washer that keeps the spindle in the ball joint. So there's 4 of those total. I'm just going to cut 2 out for now. Now we need Ma3, which is I think that's that screw. Now there's a tapered end and a flat end. The tapered part needs to go towards the spindle. Just like that. Ma3. Nice. That's actually surprisingly little slop there. It might loosen up as you run it. But okay. Did I already grease this? I did not. Well, I'm going to put the outdrive in on this side. And where's the last dog bone? Here it is. Just like that. And I'm going to grease these pins. Oh shoot. Just like that. Okay. A1 again. And Ma3 screws. They're these short ones. Nice. Flip this over. My hands are getting all greasy from touching these drivetrain components, but that's okay. All right. Nice. So let's see. Okay, there's only one type of body post for the front, so I'm going to go ahead and put those on, which is no, that's B13. B13. It's this flexible plastic again. It's B13. And that fits in the shock tower right here. And is attached with Ma5 screws, which is countersunk. Where are those? Ma5, these short countersunk screws. Okay. I believe that's the last part of step 17. It looks like we're still doing good on battery life. Here we are 45 minutes in. Perfect. Okay, I guess we're assembling shock absorbers now, so I'm going to set the chassis aside. Now it looks like we need B11, which is the shock absorber body, which is actually just this is really just a spring holder. Because there's no oil or pistons or whatever inside there. It just clips together to hold the spring. I'm not sure if this class allows aftermarket shock absorbers, but for now I'm not going to worry about it. So B12 also. B15 is this little washer thing. It's kind of easy to spot which are the shock absorber parts. Washers, and B12 are these little clips. And B7. So I think that's all the pieces of these two shock absorbers. We're going to assemble all four right now though, so I'm going to cut these other ones out. that's it. Now we need springs. Alright, here are the springs. They're pretty stiff, actually. It doesn't say to add grease anywhere in this assembly, so I guess I won't. So B3 with the shock body, and that's held in place by these little clips. It's like a preload spacer almost. Then there's a washer, a spring, and this end piece. It just clips together like that. There's a, I guess it's a friction damper. It actually feels pretty good. One down. I don't know what's keeping it from rotating. I guess it can rotate. Alright, last one. Oh, we must be getting to the end because I see charging a battery. Step 23. So we're currently on step 18. We're assembling the shock absorbers. And there we go. That's all 4 assembled. Now we need to put them on the chassis. So let's start with the rear. Okay, we need MB2 screws, which are these ones which have a little bit of a shoulder on them under the head. So I need 4 of those for the rear. And it looks like there's 2 shock mounting positions on the shock tower. And the instructions say to use the inner one, so that's what I'm going to do. Just that. I'm sure there's setup sheets that you can find online though from people who have raced these things extensively. Who could tell you what the proper setup is, whether that's different shock mounting position or what. Okay. That's the rear suspension assembled. I think we can move to the front, which will be the same process. We're still using MB2 screws to attach the shock absorbers. And again, we need 4 of those. So it looks like for if you're doing a short wheelbase, you need to add these spacers, but I think we're doing a long wheelbase. At least I haven't seen anything in the instructions that would make me think otherwise. Now again, we're using the inner upper shock mounting position on the shock tower. Like that. And the last one. That's the 4 shock absorbers installed. So now moving on to the steering bell crank. So B1 are these tie rods, non-adjustable, obviously. Again, they're made of this this flexible plastic. And D11. Where's D11? This is a different parts tree that we haven't used before. Here's D11. This is a stiffer plastic that has like a textured finish to it. Okay. Looks good. So now I need to make sure that we have this oriented the right way, because one side is higher than the other. Looks like this is how it needs to go. Something like that. Okay, B1 is held onto each one with MB2, which is the same screws that we used to mount the shock absorbers. It looks like B1 is symmetrical, so we don't need to worry about that. We need A2, which is sort of a plastic bushing, I think. Yep, A2. There's 4 of these total. Nice. I think I need to clean these little nubs off in order for them to fit inside the bell crank arm. So this is a stiffer plastic, and it makes sense that they're using it as a bushing here, because it'll be a little bit harder wearing. So that's pretty cool. They could have just molded it all as one piece of plastic, but this definitely seems like the right way to do it. Okay. Yeah, you do definitely need to clean these up. Just the flashing from the sprue, or else it's not going to fit in the cavity in the bell crank arm. This one looks okay. Nope. Just like that. Okay. On second thought, I'm not sure I have that on the right side. I think I need to flip this around. Again, it's not very... Ooh, okay, there's a little dot that indicates the direction. I wasn't reading the directions, so... Alright, there's a dot on the bell crank arm right there. That indicates that it's oriented like this in the drawing. So the tie rod needs to go on the other side. I guess that's what I get for not reading the instructions. Alright. Well, that's a little bit of a jump, isn't it? Now they want me to attach the bumper, the front bumper. So we need this plastic piece. What is that? D4, which again is this textured plastic. Ooh. That piece. And of course we need the bumper. So that fits on there. And this plastic piece goes on right here. Nice. And that's held down with Ma3 screws. That's 2 of those. Which are these pretty typical silver screws. Why does that feel like it just stripped out? Maybe I doesn't need to be quite so tight. Yeah. Okay, that's the bumper on there. That's pretty cool. Now it's time to build the steering system. So we have these two pre-assembled bell crank assemblies, and actually we need to insert MB1, which is a like a set screw. MB1. There should be another one. There it is. So two of those, as well as two of these little aluminum, oh that's not aluminum, that's steel. Two of these steel, I guess those are pivots or shafts or however we want to call it. How does that go on? Okay, so it gives you a set height that you need to screw these into the set screws. So we'll need to screw that in until only 5 millimeters is sticking up. And actually I'm going to need to run and get an Allen wrench, because that's something that I didn't think I would need. Alright, now I've got a hex screwdriver in the right size. I've also got a set of digital calipers so that I can measure 5 millimeters. Let's get this started. Set up my calipers for 5 millimeters. Okay. Let's check that. I'm going to use my depth gauge. That's about perfect. So now the other side. A little bit more. That's perfect. Okay. Now these internally threaded sort of spacer tubes, thread onto those. Okay. And it doesn't say to grease them, but I'm going to do it anyways. What's the worst that'll happen? Okay. Now fit that bell crank and the other side. And we're going to use MB2 screws again to attach the tie rod to the steering upright. And I'm going to use the back hole on the spindle because that's what the instructions say to do. Okay. Now the other side. Excellent. Oh, well, it's jumping the gun a little bit because, well, no, I guess that's right. You're almost done assembling the steering, so now's a good time to plug in the battery because pretty soon we're about to be able to drive this thing. Well, I guess that makes sense. It wants you to use the battery so you can plug the entire system in and center your servo. I'm going to skip that part for now, though, because I don't know what servo I'm going to use in this thing yet. So we need the rest of the linkage. That's P6 and D7. Where's D7? There's D7. Oh no, my camera's falling. Alright. Some more technical difficulties. What happened to that piece that I just had? I just had D7. I was trimming it. Oh, how did that end up over there? Okay, there's D7. I need P6. P6 is right here with the servo saver parts. So I need another MB2 to attach these two pieces. Now this is another a couple pieces that I think the orientation of them does matter, so be sure to look at the instructions pretty closely. There's a few subtle differences between the front and back of D7, and P6 has a long side and a short side, and it says in the instructions here. The long side goes towards D7, the short side is going to go to your servo. Just like that. I'm not going to mess with the servo saver right now, just because I might not run one. We'll see, depending on whether or not I can do that in the rules. So now we need to attach D7 to the steering bell cranks, again using MB2 screws. And D7 sort of straddles over the drive shaft, just like that. Oh man. Another MB2. Nice. So that's the rest of the steering bell crank all set up. Let's see, what's the next step? The next step is 20, we're at 24, 25. So 25 calls for attaching all of the electronics. Do I want to do that right now? Yeah, I guess I do. I'm going to put at least the ESC in. So this kit does come with a brushed ESC. Here it is. That's pretty standard stuff as far as Tamiya brushed ESCs. There's a little port there. I'm not sure if it's programmable or what's up with that. Wait a minute. Brushless ESC. Did I get the wrong ESC with this thing? Where did this ESC come from? It says on the box, it clearly says electronic speed controller not included. Yet, I am looking at a Tamiya brushless ESC, which I can't use because obviously it comes with a brushed motor, and this racing class calls for using the stock ESC, I believe. So unless this ESC can also be used with a brushed motor. Okay, so yes, it can be used with a brushed motor, so, alright, that's funny. I was not expecting that. So for use with a brushed motor, how do we set this up? I'll just skip this part. There's no reason why I need to be reading on a live stream. Okay, so we'll skip that. We'll come back to it later when I select the rest of my electronics. Looks like we need to attach the center brace D1. D1. Which fits over the steering posts right there. Okay, and I need Ma3 screws for the front here. Ma3, which are these long, dark colored screws, which fits there and there. What's in the back? Ma2, which are these longer, bright colored screws. Back there. Now I need MC1. Where's MC1? MC1 are these really short, dark screws, which fits there and there. And MC4 are these longer, these are like M3. There should be two of them. Here's the other one. This fits there and there. And these thread into those steering tubes. Cool. I guess I should have looked at this antenna mount, which goes right here because the screw threads up from the bottom into the antenna mount. So I can't do it with the center brace attached to the chassis. Oh well, I probably won't use it anyways. There's also an optional transponder mount, which is the same situation right there, but I probably wouldn't use that either. I'll probably just use an adhesive mounted transponder. Okay, so there's a motor guard that fits over, here it is. Kind of surprised my camera battery is, oh, it's about dead, so it might drop out at any minute. Here's the motor guard. fit the motor guard. MA2, and this one is MC5. What's MC5? MC5 is a darker M3 screw right here. That fits right there. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up for the chassis assembly. We didn't do the wheels and tires yet, and I'm not going to touch the body in a live stream. I'll probably do that separately and then come back. So I guess look forward to a part 3. And there goes my camera. I just heard it. The battery died and the lens retracted. So yeah, the next steps are the wheels and tires, and obviously the body mounts, and also I think next time I'll have the electronics figured out. So thank you very much for watching this live stream. I think I'm gonna call it quits for now. Stay tuned.